Government, the private sector, civil society and the youth all turned up in great numbers for the UNDP Accelerator Lab launch in Eswatini. First, to address the gathering was the UNDP resident representative.
For UNDP, our agenda is no longer just about eliminating poverty, but also ensuring that people do truly develop in all spheres, including reduced inequalities. It's also about re-examining how we produce, how we consume, and how we live in peaceful and inclusive societies. In close collaboration with a wide range of partners, as represented here, the purpose of the labs is to analyze development challenges in local contexts, identify interlinkages and patterns in search for radically new approaches and innovative solutions to the complex development challenges we all face today. The labs present an exciting opportunity to transform our collective approach to development, backed by evidence and practice, which accelerates the testing, dissemination, and sharing of innovative solutions within and across countries. This, we believe, will enable the global community to collectively learn from local knowledge at speed and at a scale that our societies and planet require.
The Eswatini Accelerator Lab team then took center stage and explained how the Accelerator Lab works. This is made up of 3 components, the first being sense-making. This helps partners to understand whether there is a fit between current investments and the changing environment. This is where learning effects can be accelerated. A move away from pilots towards genuine experiments in a portfolio logic. By collective intelligence, the labs will use the power of various sources of intelligence, including the crowd, machine learning, and distributed decision-making to support partners to understand problems, develop new solutions, promote more inclusive decision-making, and provide better oversight of what is done. And through solutions mapping, the labs will identify local solutions that have the potential to accelerate development. Mapping grassroots innovations in 78 countries will provide an opportunity to test the lab's hypothesis that when a problem is mutating rapidly, bottom-up innovation is more relevant than innovation driven by a single startup or a central authority.
So this program is about doing things fast and learning very fast. So it's a cycle. We're sensing, we're exploring, we're testing, and we're growing really fast so that by the time we are finished, at least, or by the time we reach the objectives that we intended to, we are meeting that objective.
The Federal Republic of Germany, who are the main sponsors, were represented by Liesl Toepfer, who is the liaison officer.
We need to move beyond business as usual in accelerating our effort and supporting innovation in view of the SDG achievements. This is the reason that Germany is backing the UNDP's Accelerator Labs network as one of its main partners, with a contribution of 30 million euros over the 3 years. The UNDP does essential work in a world that is ever-changing, where we see that an increase in countries is turning the back on multilateralism. Achieving the SDGs is a global challenge, and we can only tackle and achieve these goals through concerted action as a global community.
Entertainment for the day was provided by a local musical ensemble who go by the name Tribe New.
You are the stubborn in my life, in my life, you are the sun, you are the sun.
So tell me, what does everyone sing so earnestly? Love. So love is the subject of our inmost thoughts, and love no longer thou and I exist. For self has passed. In beloved we sublime and become one. And I never knew what happiness is. I never knew what happiness is, for my heart was no longer at ease. In my dreams I saw you, but was told that dreams are not true. Now each thought of you fills my heart with sweet emotions. I give you my deepest devotions, and you are a beautiful danger zone with no caution. So I fell for you with no option, and now you make my heart sing. But you are my everything.
You are the sun. Sun. Sababa, 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 sun. You are the sun in my life.
The Minister for Economic Planning and Development was represented by Nomusa Dlamini.
The Ministry of Economic Planning and Development values its strategic partnership and relationship with UNDP and appreciate the growth in resources that we have received, such as the Accelerator Lab. And this enables all of us as partners in development to better approach our challenges and develop solutions that are sustainable and relevant to the Swazi communities. Government is committed to doing development differently. And today, as we launch this, government takes it as its own Accelerator Lab, but which is supported by UNDP. In its quest to implement SDGs, which government values as the approach for development in improving people's lives, the Kingdom of Eswatini faces development challenges that need to be addressed, and addressed fast and with commitment. And without the partnership of entities or organizations like UNDP, it will be difficult and maybe impossible to develop the country to levels that we wish for. Our vision, as stated in the Vision 2022, is to attain a first world status by 2022, which is just 2 or 3 years away from now, with an actionable mission to establish a policy framework that will ensure sustainable development, financial stability and growth, as well as improving the quality of lives of ordinary Swazis. Underlying both the vision and mission is peace and national stability. It's social cohesion, inclusive growth, as well as sustainable development. Now that the Accelerator Labs have been launched, UNDP is set to work and contribute towards the country's development agenda using this approach. I am encouraging all stakeholders to partner with government and UNDP and embrace this approach for the benefit of a better Eswatini. To the UNDP team, we are ready to take off with you in this exciting journey. Thank you.
A panel discussion was then held, and the topic discussed was the relevance of the Accelerator Labs in re-imaging Eswatini in the 21st century. The panel was made up of Tamika DuPont, who's a graduate researcher, Lungile Mzebele Dladla, who's the principal economist in the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, Zodwa Bachis, community development and caregiver, Liesl Dlamini, a technology developer and entrepreneur, and Kulegani Msweli, who's a fashion designer, creative artist, social innovator, and runs Jerome Paul.
With what I do, I tend to say to people, it's multifaceted, but the core of it is about creativity, how one harnesses
one's own creativity to enhance a sense of change and a sense of development in communities, in most cases, which are marginalized. And how do I kind of utilize that? It's through creating a business called Jerem Paul, which focuses in fashion items, which is high fashion, and in furniture, and now we've ventured into food, so running a small roadside cafe in Vuvulane. But all these elements are very much in touch with the UNDP programs and the UN SDGs. So the way in which I implement my businesses are always in line with environmental change, are in line with youth empowerment, and are in line very much so with empowering marginalized communities. And I think the Accelerator Lab came at the right moment in our country, where there's a great, I think, need for outside the box thinking, and there's a great need for young people to see their dreams really being realized, but not just lip service, but actual action happening on the ground. So I really think it's a great platform to be a part of.
As a company, we actually see this initiative as one of the initiatives that will get to catapult the innovation space into another level, because if you go out there, you will discover that there's quite a lot of initiatives that have failed, not because there was lack of capacity, but there was a lack of mentorship of some sort that will lead that idea into becoming a business. So in a nutshell, this initiative will actually see us as the Maswati into that space whereby we are able to innovate and turn that innovation into a business that will contribute significantly into our economy.
As a ministry, we do a lot of work with UNDP, and I have to say that mostly it's at technical level, at policy development level, where UNDP is assisting us through technical support that is provided in the reporting for implementation of SDGs in the country, development of the national monitoring and evaluation system that is going to assist the country in tracking the progress that the government is making in terms of ensuring that nobody is left behind as it addresses issues of development. We also work with them where they are providing us technical support in building capacity for development of economic forecasting models that is informing the economic performance of the country, and they are also now assisting the country in developing the master plan that was alluded to earlier by the representative of our minister, that is forging away into turning around the economy. They are also key in assisting us in ensuring policy and strategic reviews. As you know, the development arena is a multifaceted environment, and with changes that are happening over time. So there is need to review whether our policies and strategies are still in tune with where development position is at the moment. So they are key in that respect and assisting us basically at technically and policy level.
But I think being on the stage as a young person, understanding the situation currently in the country, we know that Eswatini has one of the highest youth unemployment rates on the continent. Firstly, it's sitting at 47.7%. So I'm bringing the numbers. And then rural youth unemployment is sitting at 61%. So for me, Accelerator Labs is coming at a very good time. Firstly, we know the SDG targets are coming up, 2030. We don't have a lot of time, to make a change. And then secondly, as a young person, I know in this country there's a lot of drive, there's a lot of willingness, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of skill, and I think we can see it in the room with our young innovators. But I think there lacks opportunity for us to really, use the skills that we have and so forth. And even myself as a young environmentalist, I'm quite excited about the Accelerator Labs, and I look forward to hopefully collaborating with the UNDP with this initiative. And I think what the Accelerator Lab basically is rethinking the way we do development. It's about bringing people who are often not in these kinds of spaces, allowing them a chance to contribute to development in the country. So as said, communities in rural areas, the youth, these are people who usually have the solutions or have ideas, and often they are the ones who are left out.
Rural women and girls have been left out of most of the development programs for the reason that they are attending to family issues, domestic roles, and also the fact that although it is there is some laws that women can own land, women can own resources, but practically, when you go down to the rural communities, you find that this is not there. We are looking at this accelerator labs to consider engaging the leadership structures that exist. Leadership structures, I mean the chiefs, the constituency leaders, the MPs, those people who are looking at policies, because even the chiefs, even therefore, they may not be considered as policy makers. They look at implementation of those policies. We have seen that we have a constitution, we have laws, but these are not known to the rural communities. The reason why I say this is that you find that the implementation of whatever has affected a woman, like if you lose your property to your in-laws, nobody would attend to you. You'd visit different offices and they tell you different stories. So I'm appealing to these partners to get together and see to it that there are these laws which are not being implemented properly, and look at the regulatory documents if they are working. And while they are doing this, they must engage the women and the girls instead of having people sitting in an office somewhere and deciding on what it is not there. So the gaps should be identified by the victims so that they speak about what they felt when something was done to them. Also, I'm looking at this partnership to coordinate. The coordination should not be in office level, but it should go down to grassroots, whereby they also coordinate the NGOs that are working with the communities. Because if the NGOs are fighting, then there is nothing that will be delivered to the communities. So I'm looking at that aspect.
The greatest thing which I think has been a missed opportunity in whether you call it youth development or youth participation is the creative sector. I'll always advocate for it because I've seen it working for me, whereby I've seen it being a catalyst of actually bringing money where there was none. So creating things with your hands, which a lot of people have shunned away from. It's an area which has always been looked upon as something which is done by either uneducated, rural women, or people with nothing, using your hands. So my hands have allowed so many opportunities for me, whether it's living abroad, traveling, invited to speak abroad, to do exhibitions abroad. It's because of the work I create with my hands, not because maybe I'm extremely learned or anything like that, but the work of my hands, which I think even in rural communities, coming up with initiatives which foster that element of creativity. Unless we really tap into how do we increase activity, how do we activate activity in young people's minds, we will leave them behind. Whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's anything that is creative, it has great potential. And then a quick one, as my minute ends, I look at a place like Vuvulane, where I'm from. Literally, it's a sugarcane farming town, but from there, that's where I established my design business. That's where I've currently implemented an eco-housing project to focus on the key areas of housing in Vuvulane, which is affordable. But I've only been able to do that because I'm a creative. I've been able to come up with designs which tackle housing. I've been able to come up with designs which tackle some of quick income generation by creating a food market, which I'll be sharing a report with UNDP that since we started in January up to now, we've money which has come into Vuvulane is about 200,000 rand from nothing by the roadside with an investment of under 15,000 rand. So I think that's a lot for a small community. So I think youth, it's huge untapped potential which we have to leverage creativity into it.
Mapping the way forward was Colleen Zamba, the UNDP senior economist.
So from now then, what will be happening is to now begin to apply the protocols of the lab to this entrepreneurship ecosystem. What does the protocols of the lab? This is what we've been talking all this morning. That one, there will be sense making, like to make sense of the problem. Secondly, identify the gaps, which are there. And thirdly, map the solutions. And of course, rapidly test, which is the experimentation. But one thing to note is that this process moving forward, we all have to remember it's a learning process together, and therefore an opportunity to learn the entrepreneurship. Looking for solutions which are effective to implement those very issues we've already outlined in the strategic documents, the national plan, and the strategic roadmap. And of course, we are excited by forming those kind of partnerships, which together we will engage in experimenting so that those solutions can now be applied at scale or expanded for the 21st century challenges. Meanwhile, there will also be continuous engagement in the other areas because it's not only the youth that is a starting point. So the team will continue also to be looking at the other areas and issues as outlined in the program, and of course the emerging challenges which are coming for the 21st century. As some of you may recall, we also alluded to these things on Monday, as we're launching the Human Development Report.
There was also a mini fair where young entrepreneurs displayed their wares, which ranged from flavored honey packed with loads of health benefits to paper bags which are friendly to the environment and can easily be recycled. Drought-resistant seeds were also on display. There was also a portable sauna on display manufactured by high school pupils. Now you can have a sauna in the comfort of your own home at a steal of a price. With such creativity among young people, there is no doubt that through the Accelerator Lab, youth unemployment will be overcome as they turn into successful entrepreneurs.